Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Absolute devastation to liberation. 20-year relationship destroyed by cheating wife. Part 3. Finally, someone arrives and takes additional vitals, but they don't get to the bottom of the issue. I tell them I believe I have pneumonia because my chest aches and I can't breathe. They minimize it and say it's unlikely, but they transport me to a stretcher in an empty room. I wait another hour, and by this time, I'm very bewildered and hardly breathing. My ex is gazing at me with dagger eyes and is completely unhelpful. To this woman's horror, I actually start shouting help. Someone help me. Again and over. I don't mind. I feel like I'm going to die. I'm going to die. After approximately 3-5 minutes, someone walks in, furious that I'm shouting, but agrees to examine me. My oxygen level had plummeted to roughly 50%, which is life-threatening on its own, and my blood had almost become septic. I have bacterial pneumonia, which I most certainly got by swallowing that piece of groundwater in my mouth while rescuing the home. She never expressed gratitude to me. She actually said that she deserved more than half of the home and that she should probably take it all. After being given various fluids, I was given a morphine drip to aid with the chest aches. I drift in and out of awareness with ease, and when I emerge from my trance, I catch her eyes. This soulless human being stares back, as though wishing I had perished right there. We have million-dollar policies that would be a big help to this lady. It was then that I saw the big red sign. I sensed something was wrong, and even though I caught her by mistake, I began keeping track of what she said and who she said she was with. They didn't add up, and I knew something wasn't right. The frosting on the cake was that the rounds of antibiotics I was taking, along with the stress of the divorce, wiped out my gut flora. I'd spend the following year discovering that I had small intestine bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, returning to the ongoing divorce. That back narrative, along with the prior dialogues, I believe is crucial because it creates the groundwork for the events that follow. In order to provide context, I'll list them in brief. My ex put a few things in action after our meeting. When I was offered the weakest apologies in the history of language, and I alerted her family about the affair. First, she made it a point to inform friends and her close family that I was a deadbeat, a non-contributor to the relationship both emotionally and financially. She had said that she had always desired children but that I did not, and that she was afraid of me since I was borderline violent. As a result, I continue to explain the problem or eliminate individuals out of my life who refuse to listen to my side of the story. Of course, the fact is that she has maintained for decades that she does not want children, and that bringing it up causes a tremendous conflict. Her family, of course, took her side, and in the previous 20 years, I've lost ties that I thought were my family. Nope, I simply went completely non-contact. Fortunately, most of our actual friends abandoned her and understood what she was up to. When my ex found out about my gut bacteria and all of my medical issues, she phoned to tell me that we should be friends and that she would make sure I kept our insurance via her job. I denied her request to meet up again since I knew she wanted to reignite the feelings. As soon as I hung up, she started falsifying paperwork and submitting a letter of legal separation to HR in order to prevent me from receiving insurance. At numerous doctor's visits, I quickly discovered that something was incorrect with my coverage. All they would say was that the insurance had been canceled. I tried all I could to acquire COBRA insurance, but even though I was prepared to pay the $800 monthly fee, they were unable to activate it. It was a nightmare spending out of pocket and phoning back and forth. I'd contact my ex and she bemoaned the fact that she had no clue what was going on. I eventually reached the correct person at HR, who informed me that they couldn't set up COBRA because they were seeking for the judge who signed the legal separation paperwork presented by my ex. I was appalled and horrified, so I asked them to describe what they meant. My ex had fabricated a court document, signed it with a bogus name where the judge's credentials should have been, and filed it to HR in order to fraudulently remove me off insurance prior to divorce. I yelled that they would never locate the judge, and that what they were holding was a forgery, since we had never gone in court together or filed any official documents of separation. OMG. HR panicked like you've never seen before, and I was given my insurance back for all of the time I was out. That's also why I couldn't acquire Cobra insurance, because they were waiting for this fictitious judge to rule on the legality of everything. I contacted my ex, angry, telling her she needed to call HR and expedite the process, and she played foolish, saying, "Well, we're separated, I just don't want to do anything unlawful." We'd meet a week later, and she'd bring me Cobra paperwork at my lawyer's office, pretending to provide assistance after the event. She had the home sold. Congratulations to her. Except she sold it right under my nose. She signed my name on all the forms but never provided me the final sum. I had to learn the truth via my lawyer and the discovery procedure. That ached as well. She wanted to take over my company and only left it alone after I threatened to take over her 401k. In retrospect, I wish I had. Her retirement money was really our retirement fund, and we joked that I should purchase all the food since she was contributing to our future. My work didn't offer that option since I was self-employed, and although I was saving for retirement, it wasn't the matched account she had the opportunity of creating. She was fully prepared to demolish my company as well, but luckily for me, she was too poor to afford a lawyer, and mine safeguarded my assets and informed her that any court would let me retain it and take her 401k if I so desired. To this day, she continues to tell people that I never wanted children, and my poor mother simply breaks down because she knows it was the other way around. In an effort to substantiate her ludicrous story even further, she is now pregnant with the AP child. That's correct, they're still together, despite the fact that she promised me they'd split up when we did. She waited around 6 months before introducing him to the family as the new lover. He enjoys improv comedy haha, but he has a day job, and they met via her workplace. I discovered all of this because one of his pals cyber-stalked me on Facebook and wrote me the sweetest message saying he was sorry for everything and that they're both filthy people. Yes, 2 years later, in April, I noticed these strange IRS charges totaling $12,000 go through my bank account. The figures don't add up, so I contact the bank and my accountant. My sadly gone ex, you guessed it, used my bank account to pay her taxes. Oopsies. I offer her 24 hours to repay the monies or I will file a fraudulent charge against her. In retrospect, I wish I had and let the IRS punish her into oblivion for it. We texted back and forth. She refuses to apologize and instead questions why I'm so unhappy. IT gets rude, and I eventually proclaim that I know who the AP is and that his pals should avoid contacting me online. She never says anything about it, and the only reaction I ever get is "Who have you been talking to?" All of this, with a light at the end of the tunnel. Apart from this individual I loved strongly for at one time in my life, I'm here today to tell you that I made it. I not only survived because I'm a champ, but I'm better off for it. The most apparent thing is that you, the Redditor, are probably as sick and disgusted as I am with this person. Humans like these should not be living, and they should surely not have children. This adventure has become so much more for me and has catapulted me to a new level of development that I am overjoyed about. I found that I am a fixer not long after starting treatment. I grew raised in a household where I was undervalued, and my husband fit perfectly in like a jigsaw puzzle. All her insatiable expectations and hurdles to jump through made it seem like home. I was always reshaping myself to be the person I believed would make her happy while never being true to myself. Clearly, that method failed and put me up for failure, as detailed here. One of the most difficult things I had to learn was to separate my ex from my own self-worth, since I was offering love without ever expecting to get it in return. Someone else recently wrote a post that struck a chord with me. I had loved her for so long, and so deeply that I had assigned a certain degree of my own self-worth from our connection. When it was severed, I inadvertently felt as though my worth had decreased, that I needed to prove myself to my ex, or else she would think I was more valuable while she was with me. What a terrible statement, yet until lately, I couldn't put my finger on it. Because I didn't know myself, I never learned to be at ease with my needs, ambitions, and aspirations. I never learned to be content with my triumphs and mistakes. I arrived late to the party and never understood what my worth to others might possibly be, instead burying it all beneath the pretext of attempting to be good enough for people to like me. I was always open and socially entertaining, but it didn't come from a good place. Now that I can see the red flags in others, I know what I bring to the table and what I want in this world. I've developed so much in the last year in all of these areas. I've found who my genuine friends and family are, and I can't express how grateful I am to have them in my life. I met someone, a lovely lady with her priorities in order. We love each other unconditionally. She is proud of my triumphs and bears the load of hurdles with me. She treats others around her, including myself, with empathy and compassion, based on a deep commitment to these ideals. I consider myself really fortunate to have met her and to be able to continue my life's journey with this young, passionate lady. We just purchased a camper van and are planning a cross-country road trip for my 40th birthday. It's all I could want and more, since it's full of subtlety that I wouldn't have known to ask for in my former relationship. I could write a mini novel about all the small and wonderful gestures she has showered on me. My company has expanded by leaps and bounds in the last year, and I'm now free to make choices about it without fear of being shamed or scorned by my partner. I can also be proud of what I've produced, and I can work on it as hard as I want or take a break and let my team handle the day-to-day operations if I so choose. It's a wonderful place to be, and it's a lot better than it was a few years ago when I believed I was in a happy marriage. I'm ready to celebrate and enjoy my own birthday for the first time in 30 years. When I write it out, it sounds so little, yet it's a significant step for me to accept and be satisfied with who I am. If you've read this far, thank you for your openness and curiosity, as well as your support in enabling me to share this openly and freely. I'm not sure whether this article will assist anybody else, but it did for me and the cathartic process of letting go of the betrayal inflicted by a human monster.